Welcome to this module. I shall be teaching you on music form and structure, and by the end of this lesson, you should be able to know the meaning of music form and structure, and identify the different sections in a musical composition, and the names of different types of music forms and structure. Whenever you hear a song, and you observe that the song appears to be in sections, like the introductions, the verses, the choruses, and probably the ending of a song. It comes in a unique way. That's an indication of music form of the song. That is the focus of this class. And let's begin by looking at the meaning of musical form and structure. Now, music form can be defined as the way music is organized. As the name implies, it means the structure on which music is composed. It also means the plan, the big picture the writer or composer have in mind while writing the song out. Now, what is the purpose of music form? The purpose of music form is to enable us identify the structure on which a musical composition is written, and to serve as a guide in making or writing our own composition in the future. Now, if we label our musical materials, ideas or sections, we can show how musical forms are created. And that is very, very basic. We use musical alphabets to show the various sections that we can identify in that music. Now, let's also know that there are several musical forms which is good for us to identify. We're going to be looking at each and every one of them and the makeup of these. Let's look at common musical forms. The common musical forms that we have. The strophic is the very first one. The strophic form, which is the one part format. The part keeps repeating itself, just a section, it keeps repeating itself over and over again. Then the next one is the binary form. It has a two section. It has section A and then section B. It ends with section B. You start with section A and end with B. And then we have the third one, which is the rounded binary section. This one is a three-part section. We have the first part, which is section A, then you proceed to section B, then you come back to section A, but this time you do half of the part of section A, and that is how the song ends. And then also we have the ternary form. The ternary form has three parts. We have the section A, then followed by section B, and then we go back to the entire section A again, and most compositions are done on the ternary form. And then also we have the rondo. The rondo form is a musical form where you can have different sections, but it is in this order. You have the very first section A, and then you go to section B, then you return back to section A, you go to section C, you return back to section A. If you have section D, you go to there, you come back to section A. If you have section E, no matter the section you have, you keep coming back to section A. Then we have the arc section, the arc musical form. This format, you have the section A, section B, section C. You just follow themselves sequentially, and then when you get back to section C, you now come back again to section B, and then end with section A. And then we have the sonata form, which actually takes the format of the ternary form we have, but in this case, the section A of the sonata form is the exposition, and it is broken into two. You have the thematic group 1 and that of group 2, and then we have the section B, which is the development section, and then we have the final section, which is the recapitulation section, similar to section A, and equally is in two groups. That brings you to the end of the song in the sonata format. And then also we have the sonata rondo. Is the combination of the sonata form and the rondo form. You have the section A, thereafter you go to section B, you come back to section A again, and then you have the section C, which is in the middle, and then you want to take your section A, B, A once again to bring this song to a close. So these are the various musical forms. We're now going to be looking at them one after the other and see how we can recognize them in music. Okay, now let's see how each of them plays out. The first one is the strophic section. This strophic form, like I said, is a one section, a one simple recurring section with no other section. It's just a simple section. So if we call that first section to be A, what we are saying is that it just keeps repeating itself. It's also called the verse repeating form, the chorus form. Okay, there are some songs that it's just like a chorus and it keeps repeating itself. Or there are some performances like hymns, they just keep repeating themselves. It's a song structure in which all verses or stanzas of the text are sung to the same music. Okay, it doesn't change. Okay, just like the strophic form, just like we have a national anthem, we have two verses, you take it, you do everything together, you go to the next verse, you repeat the same structure again, you are not changing anything. So that is it. Now, this strophic form is actually built on several folk popular songs. They are composed using the strophic forms. Okay, the very popular rhyme is this "Row, row, row your boat" that these children sing all the time. We have hymns that we hear. These are examples of strophic form. Okay, now let's go to the next one, which is the binary. Like I told you earlier, the binary form has two sections, A and B. Now if you look at this example on the screen, you see we have the section A with the blue line that is indicated in the blue line bracket, and then we have the section B that is indicated with the red line bracket. Now you will see that this section, the performer, you have to play that first section of A, and then thereafter you switch to the next section. You observe that the tune of these sections are different, they contrast themselves. As you just play, you feel that yes, you are going into a different section. Okay, this is an example of the binary. Now also we have the ternary form, which is the ABA. The first section, like I said, you perform the first section, and then you have the second section. An example is the song on the screen, which is Ode to Joy. Ode to Joy is a very popular song that is a good example of the ternary form. You can only apply it to the rounded ternary form. Okay, we have the beginning part, and then we have the section B in the middle, and then we have part of the section A again coming towards the end of the form, which is the ternary form. Okay, that takes us to the rounded form, where now we now have this other one, where we have the section A, section B, section A, then we go back to section C, we come back to section A, we go back to section B, we come back to section A. So as you go from one section to another, you keep returning back to the first section. Even if you have 4 sections in that song, you find yourself coming back to the first section before you go ahead to another section. So that is how sonatas are built on the song ternary form, the ABA format, which means they have 3 defined parts. The first part, or exposition, presents the basic thematic material of the movement, which is also often broken up into 2 thematic groups, the second being a reflection of the first. Generally, the first part of the exposition presents the main theme of the song, or the musical thread that ties the piece together, and will probably be the line that sticks the most in your head. The second part of the exposition is a reflection of the first part, in that it sounds a lot like the first part, but it's slightly changed. The second section of the sonata form, called the development, often sounds like it belongs to a completely different piece of music altogether. In this section, you are allowed to move through different key signatures and exploit completely different musical ideas than the original theme. Often, this part of the sonata is the most exciting. It's where you put your big banging chords and increase tension through use of stronger rhythm and greater interval content or number of interval steps between each note. After the excitement of the second section, it feels only natural to come to the rest where we began. The third and final part of a sonata is the recapitulation, where we return to the original key and the musical theme expressed in the first section and bring it all to a final close. And then with all this now, it's clear that musical forms, they use the alphabet of English to represent them, A, B, C, or D, depending on which musical form we are looking at. You should know the definition by now. And you should be able to identify the types, whether it's binary, it's ternary, it's strophic, it's sonata. You should know the compositions and identify them. So that brings us to the end of this class. See you next time.